welcome back to test class one more time over here. Today we're going to be talking about installing Windows Server 2012 R2. We're going to do it on a virtual machine, but we're going to talk some points. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. So installing Windows Server 2012, what is the main things we're going to see today? Well, we're going to install Windows Server Core, and we're going to install a graphic user interface. We're going to talk a little bit about server core and graphic interface, what are the difference of them. And then before all that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna see one of the Windows Server 2012 R2 features. It has a lot of them, so we're gonna see some of them. So we're gonna go over here on windowsitpro.com. So if you see me looking at this side, it's because I have a second monitor here, and this is where I'm recording right now. So one of the features, new features it has is Hyper-V on it. So now you can create virtual servers or virtual computers inside your server, which will allow you to do more servicing, and it has a lot of new stuff on it, and it's great. Windows Hyper-V or Microsoft Hyper-V, it's an environment to create virtual computers that has a lot of functionalities, and it works great. Actually, it works great. Now you have many other ways. You have Windows Azure that you can connect to it. You have tire storage spaces, so you can put together a bunch of SSDs and hard drive, regular hard drive or RPM hard drive together in a single storage. You can create three or storage, how it was called, three-way mirror virtual disk or storage space. So you can create you can connect three hard drive and create one storage space. Now you can side-to-side VPN gateway. These are Word folders, so people will get their on the desktop. They will get their documents, and when they log in or log out, those folders will synchronize with the server, and they will be uploaded to the server, so the users never lose the information. And that will be amazing, because then you can back up your stuff, and you don't have to go computer by computer. And that's what we were talking about yesterday, when we said that it will allow to control and administration will be easier, because we can do a bunch of stuff from one place, so we don't have to run all around the company looking for every single computer to get back them up. So this is a great stuff. So now we're gonna go right to the stuff. We're gonna install Windows Server 2012 R2, and the first we're gonna install is graphic user interface, and then we're gonna remove that from command line, and we're gonna start server core. What are the difference between Windows 2012 server core and graphic interface? Well, server core is a command line interface, so you only have CMD, and server graphic interface, you have all these beautiful interface that you can interact with. You can click here, click there, and you can do pretty much all you can do on command line, just a little bit more graphically, a little bit more boring to those who like do things on command line. What are the benefits of command line then, if there will be everything more easier with graphic user interface? Well, the benefits of command line or server core is the server is lighter, it runs faster because it doesn't have this user interface that it has to be put on the memory all the time and accessing to it, so you use less resources on the computer. So what that would allow is to perform the services faster. So today we're gonna do that. We're gonna install Windows graphic interface. I got a virtual machine here. I haven't installed this. We're gonna do partitioning. We're gonna partitionate the hard drive, so you know how to install partitioning the hard drive. So I'm using VMware 12.5 Pro. This is one of the many tools you can get to create virtual machines. This one you have to pay for it. It also has a 30-day trial period, but there are many others. There is Virtual PC. There is one of the tools you can use to create virtual computers. If you have Windows 10 or Windows 8 or 8.1 Professional, you can add go to Add Features in Windows, and then you can install Hyper-V, and then you can try Hyper-V. And there's a lot of tutorials on Hyper-V if you haven't used Hyper-V before. So what I would recommend is, this is an amazing tool. This tool right here is great. I love it. So this is the one I use. This is the one that works best with my computer. So Hyper-V, the cons on Hyper-V, to my point of view, is that, well, unfortunately, it uses a lot of resources, and VMware doesn't. So it uses resources, but it uses less resources. So it runs faster on my computer. So start talking about Windows Server 2012 and stop talking about this. So we're gonna power on this virtual machine. This is gonna be amazing, guys, amazing. So I'm gonna say okay here. So it's Windows loading files. I already set everything up, so we can have the installation go through right away. So we're gonna do everything on it. We're gonna create the user. We're gonna partition the hard drive. We're gonna assign what volume we're gonna install Windows. We're gonna enter the serial key. So what I'm gonna do or gonna be installing today, it will be Windows Server 2012 R2 Data Center. There are three main versions. There is Data Center, there is Enterprise, and there is a standard version, I believe. Yeah, standard. So these three are different. They have different features on it. Data Center is one of the most used. So here we go. So we have to select the language we want to install. In this case, we're going to install English United States. Time and currency, English United States. Depending on the country you are, you can select a different one. So keyboard input method, I'm going to use US because we're going to be on English and US. So we're going to say next, and then we're going to go install Windows. Setup is starting. So it's a basic going through to install Windows. If you have installed Windows before, it's really basic what you're doing. So now we're gonna enter the serial key. I'm just gonna search for my serial key here. Where was it? Oh, where was my serial key? I'm looking for my serial key. Serial key. Here we go. So now I'm gonna enter my serial key for Data Center. Oh, sorry. The three versions of Windows Server 2012 are Standard, Data Center, are Essentials. With Essential, you will have essential features. With Data Center, you have a lot more features. You will have Windows Server 2012 is pretty much directed to the cloud. Windows started like, okay, we're going to the cloud. Everything is going to the cloud now. So we'll get Windows Server Data Center because we need a lot of space to manage because we're going to the cloud. Everything is going to be safe on the cloud. And the standard, it has some standard features. I'm not sure if I can copy these and paste it on my virtual machine. I'm pretty sure I can't. So yeah, so I can't. So I'm going to have to type it. I'm gonna pause the video here, and as soon as finished, I'll be back. Right, so we're back. I already typed that. So we have two main operating systems here. We have the server core, as we were talking before. They was install only server core. So you will have a black screen with this CMD console prompt on it. That's all you will have. So you have to manage everything for command line, and this is when PowerShell becomes powerful. If you know what I'm talking about, PowerShell is an awesome tool that you can use to manage many computers at the same time, many servers at the same time. That is command line based. And then we have server with graphic user interface, and this is what we'll be installing today. So we're gonna install the graphic interface first. We're gonna see how the graphic interface look. We're gonna do some changes on the graphic interface, some basic configuration when you install Windows Server right away, and then we're gonna switch back to server core really quick. So we're gonna hit next here, and we're gonna set the terms, we're gonna say nets, and then we're gonna say custom install. If you're upgrading, if you have Windows Server 2008, sorry, you can upgrade here, but we are gonna do a new one. So partitioning, this important part, if you just say next, it will create all the partitions for you. So you will have a lot of partitions there. So we don't want that. I'm gonna create a new partition. I'm gonna assign to it 500 megabytes. I'm gonna apply, and that 500 megabytes will be my system reserve partition. So on the 59 gigs that I have left, I'm gonna just hit next. So now Windows is installing. So I'm gonna pause this for the time it takes to install, and then I'll be back and we're gonna do that basic configuration. Okay, so we are back. Windows already finished installing, so we now need to set the settings for our Windows. So the first settings we're gonna have to do is the password for administrator account. Administrator account will be the default account when you install Windows Server, always. So we're gonna set a password. I'm gonna say, you can use any password you want. So we set the password. Now it's gonna finalize the settings and stuff. It shouldn't take long, I hope so. So after we set the password, it will lock us in. I'm gonna discuss a little bit about the interface on Windows Server 2012 because it changed dramatically if you use Windows Server 2008 or Windows Server 2012. The interface is different. Although the interface is pretty alike to Windows 8 or 8.1 or almost alike to Windows 10. We would have to remember that Windows 10 interface is a combination of Windows 8 and Windows 7. So they took what worked from Windows 8 and what really worked for Windows 7 and combined it together, and then we have Windows 10. So it's taking a long time finalizing the settings, probably because my virtual computer has low RAM. So I'm gonna pause the video again because I want to keep this under 20 minutes. I'm gonna pause the video again, and when it's ready, we will continue. Okay, so we are back in track. Now we have to log in. So we need the Control Delete. There we go. So every time you're gonna log in into Windows Server, you're gonna need Control Alt Delete to access to it. So it's setting up the profile now on the computer under C users administrator. It's getting all the stuff ready, all the configuration for the graphic interface. Now we already have his here. We can see our graphic interface, recycle bin, start menu, of folders, PowerShell, and this is the interesting part. It normally loads up when you start Windows. So if we click that, look, this is amazing. For graphic interface, this is gonna be the most amazing thing. I don't think Windows 8 has this tool. It's called Server Manager, and it has every single service, every single server, every single file store. You can manage it through this. You can add the roles, you can add features to Windows through Server Manager. Isn't this amazing? If you really love interface, well, this is your guide. So we have the dashboard, we have local server, we have all servers. So if you have more than one server on your network, you can all connect it to this server and you can administer all from here. So this is the IP that we're getting on a Windows server right now. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to dashboard, look, add roles and features, add other servers to manage, and create a server group. So now we can create server groups. We can add servers to our server, so we can manage from here, and we can add roles and features. So we can install Hyper-V, BitLocker, any of those features, new features that Windows Server 2012 brings with it. Now over here we have manage. So we can add the roles and features like we do here. We can remove these roles and features. So if you want to remove the graphic interface, you can do it graphically. You don't have to do it through command line. if you don't really love command line. So you can add servers, create server groups, server manager properties. So if we go here, we can say, okay, we can see the properties of our server. So we're gonna go to local server, and this is the important part. We're gonna set up basic configuration for our server. So we're gonna go first, computer name. We're gonna change the computer name. So on the computer name, you just click the name that is over there. You will see there is, it will get underlined. So you just click there, you go to change, and then server 1. Voila. We just change the computer name. We just change our server name. So now you can add any name you want for your server. So it will ask you for restart. So we're gonna say restart later right now because we want to save everything then restart. So when we restart, we have all the configurations we need and we don't have to do it again. So we're gonna say restart later. So now we're gonna go to remote desktop. We're gonna set allow remote connections. So this will enable the ports for remote connection on your firewall. So we're gonna say okay, and then we're gonna select the users, and then we're gonna add user, and we're gonna go administrator, and then we're gonna say okay, and then we're gonna say apply. What does this does? You may be thinking, well, it will allow connect remote connections to this computer only if we have this select here. It will only allow remote connections from our local network. If we unselect these, it will allow connections from anywhere if you have the ports open on your router firewall. So we're gonna say allow connections only from computers running remote desktop with the network level authentication, which is recommended. So that will be on our network. I'm gonna say apply. So when we select user, sorry, we assign a user. That user will be the only one, so they can connect remotely. If you have 2 or more users, all those users can connect remotely. So we just want administrator right now because it's the only user we have. And then we're gonna go over here and Windows updates. You always want to keep your server update, but you want to control what updates come and go. So we're gonna go to no configure. It gets underlined. We're gonna turn out automatic updates. We're gonna change settings for the updates. And we're gonna say download today, but let me choose whether to install them. And then we're gonna say okay. What this does is it will download all the updates. It will tell you I have updates here. Do you want to update? And then you select what updates you wanna take. Is that amazing? Yes, it is. Now the other thing we're missing here is IPv4 or IP configuration. Now when you have a server, you always want to give it a static IP. Why? Because if you have a dynamic IP, and a dynamic IP is an IP that changes every time. If you don't know what an IP is, it's a serial 4-digit number separated by a point that will identify your computer in a network. So if you have a dynamic IP, every time your IP changes, your computers on your network won't be able to access to your server. So you want a static IP so every computer can connect to your server. So we're gonna go Ethernet 0 and we're gonna click these, and then it will open here. So we're gonna click Ethernet 0. We're gonna say properties. And we're gonna go to Internet Protocol version 4. We're gonna double click it, and then we're gonna say use the follow IP address. And you can set any IP address you want depending on the network you want to have, at class A, B, or C. So I'm gonna use a class C IP that will be 192.168. Any number you want for this part. So I'm gonna use 1, and then I'm gonna use the number that I want to assign to my host computer or my server. So I'm gonna use 10. Actually, I'm gonna use 25. My server is gonna be 192.168.1.25. So when you go to subnet mask will be what defines what network are you to or what subnetwork that you have. It will automatically fill it for you. And then on the default gateway, you're gonna put the IP of your router. I don't have a router, so I don't have an IP for my default gateway. So prefer DNS server. I'm gonna put my own server because at some point I'm gonna install DNS and I'm gonna have all these DNS address doing getting into internet through my server. So I'm gonna use 192.168.1.25. Then an alternative DNS server, I'm gonna use a public DNS server. So if my DNS server isn't working at some point, at least on my server I have internet, I can figure it out if I need to use internet, what is the problem. So I'm gonna use the Google public DNS server. That will be 8.8.8.8. So I'm gonna say okay, I'm gonna say okay again. And these are the basic configurations you need on your server when you install it. So now we need to restart the server, and you just can go right click the Windows start menu or start button and just restart. Now it's gonna ask you why are you restarting the server, because normally you don't need to if you restart the server, that's a bad practice. So you always want your server running, so just when you restart it can provoke some errors. So now why are we restarting? Well, there's a bunch of stuff here. What do I choose? Well, we just reconfigured our operating system and it was planned. So we're gonna say cover operating system, reconfiguration, planet. I'm gonna hit continue, and then sorry about that. It's gonna restart and it's gonna save all the information. So now we have all these set up. So let's see what do we do today. Sorry guys, I wanted to keep this under 20 minutes. Looks like it won't be possible. So on our resume, what do we do today? Well, we talk about Windows Server 2012 R2 features. Whoops. We installed Windows Server 2012. We partitioned the hard drive, and we did some basic configuration. So we did server name, we did static IP address, and we did Windows update. And that's pretty much all you need when you configure Windows Server 2012 for the first time. Now, next video, we're gonna talk about domains. We're gonna upgrade all server to a domain controller, and we're gonna start setting up stuff on a network so we can control a network and see what is the difference between a local computer and a network computer or domain computer. So that's pretty much all for today. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your comments on the last video. I hope you enjoyed this one too. I wanted to keep it short, but it is a lot of stuff to talk about. So see you next time. Leave your comments. If you have any questions, just ask. See you next time.